Hi, it's Ashley from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm making a little fondant topper. Now this topper is actually quite large, but you could make this in a smaller version as well. So what I'm doing to make this cloud here is I'm just rolling up pieces of fondant, and somewhere along the line I missed the footage where I actually covered this in a thin sheet of fondant. But basically what you want to do is you want to roll little balls of fondant so it looks like a cloud, and then you're going to cover it with a thin sheet of fondant so that it looks all cohesive. To create gray fondant, I am using some satinized fondant today, and I always add just a tiny amount of black as well as a little bit of yellow to my white fondant to get this gray color. I find if I don't add the yellow, then I get a really purpley kind of look instead of gray. That white powder on my hands, by the way, is just some cornstarch that prevents sticking. Whenever I do fondant work, I generally use cornstarch. Right here, I'm just cutting out this shape for the ear of the elephant. Now, you will notice that I do attach these ears right here, but I actually suggest that you wait till later on to do it because your hand will end up knocking on that part of the ear later on. Time to create the trunk of the elephant, and basically you're just taking a little piece of fondant, rolling it up, and then tapering it at the end. And you can curl it up however you would like. Give your elephant a little bit of character. Now again, you might want to attach the trunk later on. Now the reason that I did this in the first place was because I thought that the elephant head would be placed a little bit differently on the figure, but I end up placing it in a different way. So you know what? Just do what works for you. Now I'm going to create the little blue blanket that the elephant is lying in, and I just use this mat to texturize it and give it a little bit of a quilted look. You could just leave it like this, but I wanted to give it a little bit more of a fun design, so I'm using this tool to kind of roll this texture through. Put down a piece that looks relatively the same size as what an elephant's body would look like, and then go ahead and place the elephant head on. You'll notice I used a little stick for the head, and I also have another stick sticking out right there as well. The reason for that is so that I can have something for the blanket to attach to, but we are going to take out that support later on because once everything dries together, we will not need it. You also don't need to be too picky about what the top of the blanket looks like because we are going to add on a piece of fondant fabric there as well to clean everything up. To adhere everything today, I am just using water. You could steam it as you go along, but I find it easier to do this. If you're finding your fondant pieces are quite heavy, you might want to use something like an edible glue, which is just a little bit of Tylose powder mixed with water. Now I do end up adding on a little bow to the top of this blanket as well, so I really should have just left those ears off at this point because I'm still going to be working around that area. Go ahead and add on your little eyebrow detail, which is just made with fondant again. Then I'm going to be adding some hair to the top of this elephant, and all you have to do for that is just cut out little triangles and then go ahead and directly add the hair on. You don't have to let it dry or anything like that. Then I am using my cake tool to make sure that is fully on there and just texturizing the front a little bit. Moving on to the eyes, I'm just going to be adding 2 white circles and then 2 black circles on top. And then I'm just going to add this little detail. And this is kind of, I guess, the eyelid portion that just has a little bit more definition to it. And then go ahead and add in these little white dots. I think the most fun part about this figure is this balloon portion here. So you do want to use 18 gauge wire. Make sure that it is fairly strong wire because it needs to stand up on its own. And then you're just going to kind of mold these little balloons out of fondant and place them on top. I would say this concept is actually trickier to do when it's just a fondant figure standing alone, because if this was directly made on a cake, you would just stab that 18 gauge wire all the way through, you wouldn't have to cut anything, and everything would be super stable. But because this is just a topper standing alone by itself, we do have to make sure that things dry up and set a bit more before we can remove that wooden post in the center. If you didn't want to have this idea of the sash, just make sure that you're really careful with how you put that blanket together in the first place so everything is nice and smooth. I wanted this to look like the sash was all attached to the balloons and everything was pulling that elephant up into the sky. So I'm creating a bow here, which I just did with a piece of rectangular fondant, folded in the edges to give it more of a cartoony look, and then I adhered everything together with some water. To cover up that portion in the center, create another thin rectangular piece and wrap it around so we can't see anything. I apologize for this angle here. I thought everything was in view, but it was not. So all I'm doing here though is I'm attaching these little thin pieces of fondant, which are the ribbon or sash ends. I'm giving this ribbon a little bit more movement to give the illusion that this is up in the sky. Now I have removed that wooden dowel and I'm replacing it with some more balloons. Whenever I'm working with fondant, I really love to give it a good steam at the very end. Just really adds a lot of saturation and it gets rid of any excess cornstarch. It also helps all those little details to perfectly adhere if they haven't already. And I'm also wanting to add on these little kind of glitter stars, glitter sprinkles, not sure what you would call them, but they're nice and metallic. And the best way to adhere these in a haphazard manner is to steam it because they will stick really easily. I'm also adding in a little bit of petal dust on those cheeks there to give him a little bit of a blush. And I love metallics, so I'm just gonna spray a little bit of this edible paint on those balloons as well. Now, I know a lot of home bakers and bakers in general sell their toppers. I've actually never done it before, so let me know down in the comments below. Do you guys sell your toppers by themselves? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!